community have a reasonable and significant opportunity to participate in contracts for construction, architecture, engineering services, professional services, and non-professional services. Next slide, please. Can I advance? Hear you very well. Can you hear me? Is that better?
That is better.
Can you repeat that again, ma'am? Because I didn't hear you either. Can you repeat the last slide again?
Okay, so I was talking about the mission of the Office of Small Business Opportunity. So the mission of the Office of Small Business Opportunity is to provide a race and gender neutral tool for the county to use in its efforts to ensure that all segments of its local business community have a reasonable and significant opportunity to participate in contracts for construction, architecture, engineering services, professional services, and non-professional services and commodities. Next slide. So what are the goals for OSBO? We advocate to ensure that the small business community have a reasonable and significant opportunity to participate in county contracts. We connect our businesses to programs. We qualify our businesses through our SLBE program, and we help small businesses understand how to leverage their resources to become more productive and competitive in the business community. Next slide, please. So what are the services that OSBO provides? The Office of Small Business Opportunity provides business development services for startups and existing businesses that want to grow and expand. We offer SLBE certifications, and with our SLBE goal setting processes, we are able to advocate for our SLBEs by ensuring that they have equal opportunities when it comes to county contracts. Through our strategic partnerships, we connect our small businesses, our small, local, and minority businesses to resources such as financial and capacity building. We also offer one-on-one consulting services to our small businesses. So what are the eligibility requirements to become an SLBE? You must have a principal place of business, and it must be located in Richland County. You must be independently owned and operated. It has to be a for-profit business, not a broker. The business owners are actively involved in the day-to-day management and control of the business. You cannot have no more than 50 full-time employees. You have to have been in business at least a year, and you must meet the size standard eligibility as set in our ordinance. Our SLBEs are ESLBE, which is our emerging small local businesses, must meet the same requirements, but they could not have been in business more than 5 years, have no more than 5 full-time employees, and their annual gross sales as average over the lifetime of the business cannot be more than $1 million. So currently we have 114 SLBE certified, and I'm gonna give you a breakdown by ethnicity. So right now we have 2 Asian businesses that are certified, 85 that are African-American, Black, 24 Caucasian, 2 Hispanic, and 1 listed as other. We have 58 businesses that are females, and we have 56 businesses that are males. In the categories, in architecture and engineering, we have 7 businesses that's certified. We have 34 in construction, 9 in non-professional, 55 in professional services, and 9 in wholesale. So total awards to SLBEs for transportation projects. So as of today, we have a total of $86,303,633, which is tracked through our B2G system. And as you can see, it comes through our dirt road packages, sidewalk, pedestrian improvements, intersection improvements, drainage improvements. But SLBEs have also been awarded contracts through our public works and other departments that are not tracked through the B2G system, but those are tracked manually. The system that we have in place is to meet with procurement on a monthly basis to track contracts awarded to SLBEs that are not performing on transportation projects. P-cards, tracking through P-cards may be a little bit difficult. So our next slide is,
Sorry, excuse me. I recognize, thank you. Just a question, can you go back to, you mentioned you meet with procurement, you said on a monthly basis to determine if SLBEs are performing. Is that what you said?
well, actually, they have contracts. Right now, through our B2G system, we track transportation, but our departments that are not transportation, we have to track those manually. So we'll be meeting with procurement on a monthly basis to track those awards to other county departments, other than
Okay, outside of transportation.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
So this slide gives a snapshot of our SLBE utilization percentages on projects. And this is, you can see transportation, and we do have some public works projects. So as you can see, our utilization goals range from 3% all the way to 100%. The 100% signifies projects that our SLBEs have self-performed, and those are called our sheltered market projects. And they perform as prime contractors, not subcontractors. In February, we just set our goal on the Dirt Road Package O, and that goal is 12%. So I'm referencing these two particular projects, two penny tax projects, because we just had the groundbreaking ceremonies on those projects. And I just wanted to highlight the SLBE utilization percentages on those. So on the Bull and Elmwood intersection improvement, that SLBE percentage was 18%. And on the Green Street Phase 2, our SLBE utilization goal is at 8.1%. So we're going to talk about our strategic partnerships. So OSBO partners with agencies throughout South Carolina, but we emphasize, we pay special emphasis on Richland County. Through those partnerships, OSBO ensures that Richland County is visible in outreach hosted by those community partners. OSBO has also partnered with various businesses and communities and groups, educating and promoting the community on Richland County's resources and certification. And this is a snapshot of some of our strategic partners that OSBO works hand in hand with. So to talk about our OSBO Business Academy, so the office provides technical workshops and trainings for our small businesses. Last year, 2022, we had over 880 attendees at our workshops and trainings. And this does not include the numbers that may have gone on YouTube that probably wasn't able to attend. They went back on YouTube and viewed the workshops. All of our virtual trainings are uploaded to the Richland County's YouTube page. And some examples of some of the success stories that we have had from our trainings, and this is through emails and phone calls. So we had an SLBE that was successful in obtaining grants, a grant from the Richland County COVID-19 Small Business Relief Grant. And that SLBE attended at least one or two of those workshops. We were able to certify businesses that are now actively working on county contracts. We're able to encourage our small businesses to get registered in our bonfire vendor pool. And also, there have been business-to-business opportunities just amongst the attendees, and partnerships were also formed. So on February 23rd, which was a few weeks ago, we had our first in-person training. The topic was good, better, different. The businesses had an opportunity to evaluate their business to see what did they do good in 2022, what could they have done better? And for 2023, what could they have done? What are they going to do different? And through the Talk-A-Dot platform, we were able to capture real-time feedback from the participants. 100% said that they felt that the workshop was valuable. 98% said it was actionable. 96.7% felt that the content was relevant. 99% said it was inspiring. And through our Survey Monkey, 91% felt that the content was applicable to their business, And 100% said that they would refer this workshop to other business owners, which is good. And also we had 4 that's requesting information on how to become certified with our office. And our participants also provided feedback on future workshops that they would like to see the office provide in the future. So community engagement. Through our community engagement efforts, OSBO is in full support of the county's investment in economic development. In February, OSBO participated in 2 ribbon cuttings. One was a veteran-owned business, and they opened their business in District 3. And one is a minority-owned franchise, and she opened her business in District 9. In December, OSBO collaborated with Optus Bank and the City of Columbia on a business appreciation outreach event. One of our SLBEs was featured at that event, and at this event, it brought more exposure to their business, and they were able to generate additional revenue just from that particular event. So I just want to give an update on a disparity study. So the consultant chosen to lead the disparity study is Griffin and Strong. We also have an SLBE that's working as a subcontractor also on this project. In December, we had the kickoff meeting, a meet and greet with the an assessment meeting. A plan for data collection was outlined and the projected completion date for the disparity study is April 2024. The first batch of quantitative data is due this Friday, March the 10th, and currently there are policy review interviews in progress. This slide, okay.
I'm sorry. You said the completion date is April 2024. Is that when you expect for it to come to this committee, or is that just when they expect to be done with the work and then you think it'll take some time after that before we see it?
Based on the assessment, they're anticipating that everything should be wrapped up by April 2024.
Mr. Brown, I guess based off your understanding, is that something that you envision then that I guess council will be able to see, or this committee would see kind of first to get a presentation of the results, or?
I would imagine that certainly through the council committee process that we'll run it that way. So we'll let everybody know, but so council can take action, we'll run it through the committee and then allow you all to ask us, tell us how you want to proceed.
Thank you.
And I think they're going to have meetings scheduled with councilmen throughout the process.
Recognize Ms. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wade, you speak in technical terms as it relates to this disparity study, but could you go on the record to just give some details as to, you say quantitative data and things like that. I think it's helpful for the citizens to know exactly what it is that this study includes.
Okay, for the quantitative data for our office, they're asking questions as to, they wanted to get a copy of our SLBE certified list, and they're going back from 2017 to 2022. They're requesting information from procurement. Jennifer, you want to on some of the things they're asking for? But they're asking for data from procurement. They're asking for data from our office. They want to know contracts that have been awarded. They wanted a copy of finance. In finance, they want a copy of all vendors that's registered in Central Square. So those are the type of data that they're asking for right now.
May I be recognized?
Jennifer, you recognize.
Thank you. Yeah, just to add on to what Erica said. So right now, the data that they're seeking is contracts that have been awarded, subcontractors under those contracts, payments we've made to vendors, just data to help them put together information for these study results.
Brenham, you recognize.
Thank you. I'm going to play the new guy card here. Is this the same as the equity study that was referenced in the November meeting minutes?
Yes, sir.
Thank
I'm happy to wait for.
You get Mr. Livingston and then we get you.
Let me just quickly say, and it may have been said before I got here, but what's significant about the disparity study is it'll allow us to set some very realistic goals. In other words, it'll tell us that, you know, if we need an engineer, then it'll tell us you have X percent of engineers who are African American in your community. So therefore, you'll know what a good number to use to try to set that goal. Right now, it's just kind of a hit and miss because we're not sure what's available and we're trying to set that particular goal. So I think it's very helpful in that sense.
Ms. Newton, you reckon?
Thank you. And then this question is also about the study. I understand that it takes time to process the data, talk to the people, et cetera, and that this report will come to us in April. My question is, when you look at the process for the vendor that we have, is that the first input that we'll receive? I know that we'll see it before it's distributed to the broad world, but are there incremental data points that they'll be sharing with you and you'll be sharing with us, or do we just wait till the end?
I wish I had the breakdown with me. I can share that information with you, but you will get information in increments.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Throughout the study.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
More questions? Erica, you still have the floor.
So our next steps. OSBO is seeking directives from administration and council as it relates to Ordinance 05816 HR Book 16, page 295. But I would like to take this time to kind of go over some historical data, especially for our new councilman as it relates to OSBO. So Ordinance 04913 HR. This is when the SLBE program was created for transportation, and this was effective September 17, 2013. Then we had Ordinance 03914 HR. This is where the OSBO office was created, and the director reported directly to the county administrator. That ordinance was effective July 15th, 2014. Then we had Ordinance 06414 HR. This is when the OSBO department was abolished and the division was moved under procurement. That was effective November 18th, 2014. Then we have Ordinance 05816 HR. And this talks about a division of the Office of Small Business Opportunity was removed from procurement to directly report to the county administrator. And after 3 readings and the hearing, the ordinance became effective December 6, 2016. And the language from Section 3 was changed and reflected in the Richland County Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration Article Purchasing Division 7, removing the title of Director of Procurement to the Director of the Office of Small Business Opportunity. Currently, the office is up under the Division of Procurement. It is staff's recommendation to adhere to Section 2-639 because it parallels to the purpose of the disparity study. It references the SLBE program furthering the county's public interest for fostering an effective broad-based competition from all segments of the vendor community to include small, local, and minority businesses. This will ensure that the county will neither be an active or passive participant in private sector marketplace discrimination, but promotes equal opportunities for the contracting community to participate in county contracts. The bullet points listed on the slide also outlines staff recommendations as to the directives of the Office of Small Business Opportunities so that we can be effective in carrying out the mission and the goals of the office. OSBO would like to continue to collaborate with procurement to ensure that SLBEs receive equal opportunities for contracts. Staff will continue in its recruiting efforts to increase our vendor pool through outreach, trainings, and strategic partnerships. OSBO would also partner with business license. Well, we already partnered with it. We'll continue to partner with business license to capture businesses in Richland County so that the office can potentially certify in areas where there is a demand. OSBO would strive to set a countywide aspirational goal for our 27 plus departments. This can also potentially increase our SLBE participation countywide. We will also like to continue to collaborate with the grants department to provide access to capital and also serve as a resource to our financial institutions, especially with our CDFIs, which are community development institutions whose specialty is providing services to the people and communities that are underserved by the traditional financial institutions. At this time, I would like to introduce my staff. Behind me, we have Ms. Pamela Green, who is the assistant manager, and we also have Ms. Margaret Jones, who is our compliance and certification specialist. At this time, do we have any questions?
Ms. Mackey, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Wade and staff. Thank you for coming and attending. You kind of ran through the history of several ordinances. And I want to know if you can, I don't know if this is you or Mr. Brown, but if someone could kind of explain to me how is the transportation penny program set up in this structure? Is because when you talk about, there's the county stuff, but then there is the penny that is in a lot of ways is separate. And so when you talk about SLBEs and participation, is there already something established that says, hey, with the penny program, this is the process that we do have to follow with SLBs, but there's something else we do for the rest of the county? Or does the ordinance even address the difference between the penny and just countywide departments?
From my understanding, well, when the program was established under, let me get to my slide, 04913 HR, that's when the SLBE program was created for the penny tax, for transportation to ensure that contractors was getting equal opportunity. Now we set goals on a project by project basis. We use the same process that we use with penny tax countywide. But as far as an ordinance, I'm not 100% sure on that one. Mr. Brown, you want to take this one?
Brown, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a nice handoff. I think, Ms. Mackey, to your question, one of the things that I was hoping to do with this committee is really understand what the current council wants to do with the ordinance. Part of the reason why OSBO is operating under procurement, part of it is because of a conversation that I had relative to what the ordinance as listed when you go to the county's website and look under ordinances, the information that's there. The information that's in your packet was information that was pulled from research that highlights this information, but it's not all reflected. So one of the things we wanted to do was make sure that as we brought this together, have the committee and ultimately the council provide current direction so that the ordinance can be updated, whether it's what we currently have now or whatever, to establish how this reporting mechanism works with the administrator, as well as what do you want the OSBO office to actually do relative to the work that is done throughout the county. So, Ms. Mackey, I don't have another answer to your question because that's one of the answers that I'm seeking. And I think that the current body is probably best suited to address it rather than trying to figure out what a previous body, what their intentions were when the office were established and compared to where we are now.
Well, I guess I would like to say, for staff's consideration as we go through this is, one, I would like to make sure that the research has been done as it relates to the penny program and making sure that there is no language that we stated that we would follow some type of setup as it relates to SLB. So one, I want to make sure that as we look at this, we're not doing anything that's going to impact something that we may have committed specifically for the penny. And then also, I would like to look at, as we move forward with ordinances, you know, the penny has been operating for a while. And now to maybe change any requirements, I just have concerns about that. So I don't know if it's possible as we move forward to look at the penny program one way and over here, and then countywide and everything else in a different way, just to make sure that we're not completely changing a process that maybe several businesses have been accustomed to when dealing with the penny. I want to make sure it stays as easy and streamlined as possible for those that are already doing the penny program.
Livingston, you recognize?
Just briefly, in terms of the history of the penny program, now, keep in mind that this ordinance was designed specifically for the penny program. And it was, at that time, the intent was to inform minorities about what's available with the penny. It was to recruit those companies and to certify them. That was kind of the main focus at that particular time. And also at that time, there was a significant goal for SLB participation. I mean, it was like 50%, 51%. It's pretty high. And so the big threshold to meet at that particular time. But the only reason but DRR said, you know, well, that wasn't appropriate expenditure of penny tax funds. And so that's why it was moved into the general fund, and general fund started paying for it, which is the reason why we need to make sure it supports the entire county equitably.
More questions? Mr. Brennan, you recognize?
Thank you. So penny tax, that passed in 2012, right? Is that right? You guys recall? All right. And so this office was created about a year later. Did I follow that right? In 2013, or an ordinance was passed?
Right. The program was created September 13, but the office was created, well, the ordinance was passed, but the office being created July 15, 2014. So little over under a year.
Okay. By the way, thank you, Ms. Wade, for your presentation. Congratulations on the successes of the office with the academy and everything there. Sounds like you got outstanding feedback. But the OSBO is helping to promote these types of businesses and their participation with contracts beyond the penny tax program, right? Is that right? Okay. All right. And so is there a question right now as to where they fit in the organizational structure of the county?
There was a question, and part of that question led to some of this work that you have before you, where I believe the clerk's office was provided assistance and found out that there was an ordinance that amended an ordinance, because when you looked at the live information, it just showed that the Office of Small Business was under procurement. And so the question was whether or not they were under procurement or whether or not they reported specifically someplace else. And so what we were recently found out was that this ordinance was amended that showed that they were removed from under procurement and established as a standalone. And there was a question, and I don't know if again, from a historical standpoint, Councilmember Brenham, what timeline the structure came in where the former administrator, you know, lined that out? Was that in conjunction with county council's amended ordinance? Was that, you know, separate and apart? Those things I don't know. So again, that's why we just simply wanted clarity. That way we know how to move forward. The staff members are on the same page, and we can just have a more succinct program going forward. So that's, I don't have all the direct answers, because that's what, again, the timelines and the changes, we just want to make sure we represent the information as it should be.
So functionally, as of right now, who's the OSBO reporting to?
Functionally, right now, they're reporting to procurement.
And did I understand that the OSBO has a recommendation as to where they ought to fit within the county organization?
Ms. Wade did make a recommendation that the ordinance as she read reflect how the staff is reporting in their reporting structure. I believe that was her recommendation.
Yes.
Recommendation was that they should report directly to the county administrator?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Wright, did you have any comments about all this?
Recognize, sir.
Not really. The ordinance, I guess, if it says currently, to my understanding, that they would report to the administrator. So it's up to the council to determine whether they want that to remain the case, or whether they want it to remain or be under procurement.
Mr. Brenham?
Thank you.
So,
Chair.
Mr. Brown, currently, since the ordinance was amended, we're operating outside of the ordinance as we speak right now.
That is correct, based on the fact that we literally just, the last, I think, 2 weeks, the research was done and this information was found out. Before then, we understood that based off what's on the website, that we were operating in conjunction with the ordinance, because that's what's posted and that's what's used.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Newton, you're recognized.
Thank you. So when we have this conversation, I figured we'd have it another time. One of the things that I think will be important for us to look at as we look at the functions of the office is as I see it, there are different kinds of functions that the office does. And there's some general functions. And then there also are some functions that read like a traditional procurement office. So if we're going to look at this, I think we have to look at it, really comprehensively to see what lands where. And it might be that it's structured exactly the way that it's structured with a different reporting structure. It may be that we need to structure it a little differently, just because the functions that are in this bucket are really varied, and just to make sure that they land the right place. So that's just my thought for future consideration.
Ms. Newton. Ms. Livingston, you recognize?
Yeah. I'd like to have just a little bit of additional information. If I'm correct now, the SLB is what, less than 50 employees?
Yes.
It would be helpful if I could get an idea of what percentage of SLBs are somewhere between 0 and 25, at 25 and 50. Because I think if you got them all around 50, then we just leave it out to many people.
Okay, we'll get that information back to you. And as we have this discussion, again, I mentioned in my report about the staff recommendation, we also have to take into consideration the disparity study that's ongoing. So when we look at section 2-639, when it talks about the program furthering its public interest in fostering effective broad-based competition for all of our segments. So we need to think about that when we talk about where we're going to put the department, who we're going to report to. We want to make sure that we are in line with the current ordinance, especially with the disparity study going on.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wade. Any more questions, concerns as it pertains to the presentation?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. You recognize Mr. Brown.
So one of the things it looks like I'll need to do is, so the committee will have a real good grasp of information in addition to what you have. This may require some historical reference, and I don't know, Mr. Livingston, if you will remember this, but potentially the former administrator, Mr. Zills, presented a reorganization of the county departments after the reading of this ordinance, and that reorganization went through 3 readings and placed OSBO under economic development after 1 year of administration. Does any of that sound familiar? Hate to put you on the spot, but there may be just another. The reason why we're asking these questions.
I can remember. I was so nice for that stuff going on in that time. I can't remember.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, my point is that's the reason why I think as we go through this, sir, it really just would be helpful to understand what you all want to do rather than relying on the time and things happen. 'Cause I just want to get it right for the team and for the county.
That's what I support too.
Ms. Mackey, you recognize.
Thank you. No, I definitely agree, and I appreciate you providing that recommendation and approach forward, Mr. Brown. You know, I definitely think that as we've gone through as a council, the strategic planning process, you know, one of our goals, especially with inclusive and equitable just infrastructure and how we're operating and disparity study that we started, that I do think it is the goal of council to make sure that the OSBO office is one that is more forward facing and engaging with our community and really helping to, you know, be a part of economic development and help grow small businesses, as we know are a huge part of the local economy. And so I believe that we do need to look at it in a way that aligns with where we've been with our strategic plan. And so I appreciate that direction. I appreciate staff's recommendation as well in bringing us this current ordinance. I think it's helpful. And I do want to get the information back from some of these questions that we asked staff, but then also just look at this language again and make sure that we don't want to make any other changes to it to fully allow the office to, you know, be forward facing and be engaged in the public in the way that we all would like to see for our businesses and communities to grow. So if staff could get us back that information, I think that would help me move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Ms. Wade, you're recognized.
Yes, another thing we wanted to ask as far as staff recommendation, we want to recommend that we stay where we at, because right now we have ample space for our office as far as staffing is concerned. Also, we already have our conference room that is set up and designed with visual arts. When we have our trainings and workshops, we have desks and chairs there. We also have we also have a lab, so if our SLDEs need any assistance with uploading information into the B2G system, they can come in and we offer those services. So we're asking that we remain in the suite where we currently are because of how it's structured.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. You're recognized, Ms. Newton.
That would be a request for the administrator. That wouldn't fall under our purview as council, right? Okay, just confirming.
Any more questions or concerns regarding these matters? Mr. Brennan, you recognize, sir.
Thank you. I just want to be sure, Mr. Brown, do you have a recommendation?
To be honest with you, no, sir. I just really want to make sure we are following the intent of the council. And we want to serve the citizens. And however the office is structured, the bottom line is we're going to serve the citizens. So when they report to me directly, they ultimately report to the county administrator. So I don't have a specific recommendation as to should they be under me or procurement or economic development. That's literally why I really wanted to know how the council best saw these services being provided through the mechanism of the Office of Small Business, regardless of which area of county administration they reported under. I'm sorry, that's a long answer, but I don't have a specific preference.
Thank you, that's fine. And so if we left OSBO reporting to the administrator directly, there would be no need for a change in ordinance. Am I understanding that correct?
If the ordinance that's currently written is the most recent ordinance, that will be correct.
Okay.
I think the concerns for that ordinance is making sure that we have the proper language in it and we're not crossing out anything when it comes to the penny tax. Yeah. Mr. Wright, you recognize.
Right. And just one thing I just want to, just so you have the complete understanding, is that the other question of whether it's just following the economic development is that will we have an economic development department at that point? So with the public-private potential.
Right, while you have the microphone, is there anything else that we need to know about any of these other ordinances that fall under 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5?
It's just to make sure that, one, what is the most current, and if you want to do one to change any of it, just having updated so you know what the current status or what this council wants the office to do, or the primary purpose of the office. Because I think that it's already established as far as the penny tax part, but the question is everything other than the penny tax.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions or concerns from my colleagues?
Here.
Yes, ma'am. Ms.
So-
Newton, you're recognized.
Thank you. So just from a process perspective, what ultimately will need to happen, well, this is a question, it started sounding like a statement, is what ultimately needs to happen that this committee needs to make a recommendation. And if it's nothing changes, then we just talk about it and it stays here. But that ultimately for us, the only way to have a discussion with the full body is to move forward some type of motion. So then what I'm hearing is that additional information is going to be provided to us to put us in a position where we can make that motion. Is that the next step?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Just making sure I wasn't leaving some action on the table. Thank you.
Ms. Newton. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Ms. Wade. I appreciate we appreciate your presentation. Thank you for going through the ins and outs of what the office looks like. With that being said, we move on to item number 6 on the agenda.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Madam Clerk, can you call for the vote, please?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.